It is Saturday evening, July 5th, 2025. Motzei Shabbat. Today was the 9th day of Tammuz, of 5785. Parshat Chukat, Parshas Chukas, and I hope I'm able to make this within 15 minutes. If not, then there's a lot of information that came today. This is my presentation of the PL-89 calendar, a mathematical work that started in the late summer of 2012. Actually, I recognize it as Elul, which is September, around late August, September. Elul is the last month of the Hebrew calendar year, but it's the sixth month of the year, starting from Nisan, of the months. And since 2012, I've been developing this calendar and the use of this calendar. And it is only 13 years later, we're in the year 2025 or 5785. Back then it was 2012 or the year 5772. 13 years later, I am now making daily presentations of what this calendar is, the mathematics that are involved with it, and what it is meant to do. One of the ideas associated with this calendar is something that in Hebrew is called Sod HaIbur, which is a mathematical study of calendars and time, specifically related to leap years. Sod HaIbur is the secret of how the year is intercalated in a leap year. And the secret of leap years is connected with Mashiach, because there is a time designated for all things to happen. So this calendar is connected with the Sod HaIbur, and it's a gematriatic calendar, which means that when you look at the date, then you look at the number, and the number has a meaning, because things happen with meaning and with purpose. And if they happen in a particular year, in a particular time, then that is the message. And these messages are derived through sequences of numbers. For example, the word Sod HaIbur has a numerical value in regular Hebrew gematria of 363. Sod HaIbur has the same numerical value as HaMashiach, the Messiah, which is 363. Mashiach is 358 and He is 5, so that's 363. That's one example of how this calendar is supposed to work. That when you look at numbers, you're looking at words. And all of the numbers that make up history are really just words. And this calendar is meant to decode that. And that's one purpose. And while we're on the number 363, I'd like to share one more thing about the tekus, because I do another program called Teku. Teku is an unresolved question, and we're told through tradition that tekus are only answered with the coming of Elijah, who heralds the Messiah, which Teku, all of our unanswered questions are resolved with the coming of Messiah. So it's very important that we understand things about that. And the first Teku appears in Tractate Brachot on page 8a, at the bottom of the page, about 2 lines from the bottom. The very first Teku, and remember, keep in mind that Teku is associated with Mashiach, just keep that in mind. The very first Teku is asked by an Amora, which is an Amoraic rabbi. He came after the Tanaim, the Tanaitic rabbis, probably, let's say, like 300 to 500, or 600, those years. And the first Teku in the Talmud Bavli is asked by an Amora named Rav Papa. And Rav Papa has a numerical value of 363. So isn't it interesting that the very first Teku that's asked in Shas is asked by an Amora who his name equals the Messiah? see, when you see things like that, you start to give really good credence to Gematria. And you start to see that everything is Gematria based. Gematria has long been overlooked and relegated by the majority of learning the Torah people to just a cute thing, a nice, interesting thing. Parperas, it's said in the Pirkei Avos that it's just like a dessert. It's not really the main course. However, many people don't know that in a certain brisa of the 32 hermeneutical principles, we say the 13 principles of Rabbi Yishmael every morning, but there's another brisa that has 32 principles, and the 29th principle of derivation of the Torah is Gematria. Many people don't know that, but it's brought down in Rashi in Bereshis. I learned recently, early on, the first part. I think Parsha Bereshis, around there. Anyway, that being said, this calendar is meant to understand time as a gematriatic flow. Okay. That being said, every day has a number, and the sequence of how this calendar was made, I don't know if you can see all the numbers here, but are based on verses in various passages of the Bible, in Leviticus and Exodus, and there is a pattern, sequence of numbers that is 8 plus 9, 8 plus 9, 8 plus 9, and 40 is the cutoff point, and that's based on verses in the book of Leviticus, chapter 25, verse 20, which is interesting again. So you see the gematriatic beauty and symmetry of this, because 2520 is the year that I'm starting to present this, and the verses come from Leviticus chapter 25, verse 20. And it's only 13 years after 2012 that it's being presented. So that's yet another confirmation of the precision and the accuracy of Gematria. Today, on the PL-89, so it's a luni-solar calendar, that should be mentioned also. It's a calendar that combines two calendars that a majority of the world uses today, including the Jewish world and the non-Jewish world. That is the secular calendar, the Gregorian calendar, which today is July 5th, and the Hebrew calendar, which is a lunar calendar. So the first is the solar calendar, the lunar calendar was the 9th of Tammuz. However, right now it's at nighttime, so we're actually at the 10th right now. All these things make a difference. But today, okay, there's three different modes of how this calendar works. And in each mode was meditated on for a certain amount of years. And it's three modes based on the teaching of Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg, may he live and be well, of it called Seter, Samech Taf Reish. Seter means like a secret, but really it's an acronym for Sof, which means the end, Toch, which is the middle, and Rosh, the beginning. And you can take this three-part idea in many things: the beginning, middle, end of a story. You can take it, compare it to the scientific process of synthesis, antithesis, and thesis, synthesis, and synthesis, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Yeah, okay, and many other things that are three. So, in this particular era of the calendar, the first months of the season, the cardinal months are known in astrology as Tammuz. There's the Tekufas, and like in Rosh Hashanah, it's Tekufas, the seasons. It's Tekufas Tammuz, Tekufas Tishrei, Tekufas Teves, and Tekufas Nisan. Right now we're in Tekufas Tammuz. And that Tekufa and Nisan and Tishrei and Teves all started here on box 38. And to keep time, I won't explain that whole thing. I might explain it in a different video. But anyway, today on this calendar, and I should state one more purpose of this calendar is to create a bridge, to bridge the gap between subjective and objective. And we all have things that are meaningful to us, each one of us, that are not meaningful to other people. It's only for us. But is there something that is meaningful to us that is also meaningful for someone else that we can relate to? And can that be quantified, or can that be, I'm looking for the word, but honed in on? Can you identify that quality and map it out? If you could map out subjective versus objective, get a consensus through mathematics, then we would have an agreement based on the mathematics of things that happen inside versus everything that happens outside. So what you'll find when I do these presentations is that I'll be doing a lot of presenting of what's personal to me, but I'm looking for other people who it's meaningful to them too. Because it's not about me, it's about the claw. But at the same time, I still am me, you still are you. Everyone has their own individuality, but what people are looking for is a connection. And that's what this is meant to do as well. And reconciliation is another word that's associated with this calendar. And many other things, but again, for time. So back to this. On the PL-89 calendar, today, the 5th day of July, we are on box 32. That means that ideally something about 32 should happen today, or within this time, within this period of time. So the thing that happened to me today that was 32 is someone asked me someone else's age, and I said the word, he is 32 years old. Now you might think that's just a coincidence that this box number on July 5th is 32, and I said someone's age 32, but it's every minor detail, every word you say in the day is measured out. And that's why it's so important to understand what numbers are. Because when you say it costs this much, or it weighs this much, or it's this many degrees, or any other metric, it can all be connected into one logical, coherent thought, is what this is trying to do. So someone asked me, someone who showed up somewhere and asked me something, I said that he's 32 years old, okay? And I'm not going to say names of people because, and I'm also, if I want to say names of people, but those people are controversial, I will be using a number. And the number, again, is because the code is supposed to be universal. So if you understand the number, you'll understand the reality. So 32, and there may be many other things. That's the only thing I can think of is 32 right now. But the Hebrew calendar date was the 9th of Tammuz. And I think here's where the history comes in. This is it's like we say in the Hebrew prayers, Bayamim Hahem Bazman Hazeh. In those days, at this time, it takes that idea and it makes it workable. The 9th of Tammuz does not always fall out on the 5th of July. I don't know, and I should know because that's what the study is, but I don't know when that happens, how many years it will come back. I think every 19 years, if your Hebrew birthday is whatever, it'll match your Gregorian birthday. Someone was born January 1st, and it was the 1st of Tevet. Then 19 years later, it will be the same, or around there, or at night it'll line up, maybe one day apart. Sometimes it's just a day apart. But that's 19 years is quite a long time, as a huge portion in anyone's life. these days. And the fact that today is the 9th of Tammuz, and it was the 5th of July, connects with something that I learned just a few days ago about the excommunication that the Vilna Gaon made on Hasidim back in the 18th century. And there were 3 excommunications. I just learned about it, interestingly, during the time when now we're celebrating, many people are celebrating the yard site of Lubavitch Rebbe, which is Hasidus, which is what was excommunicated. And remember what I was telling you about reconciliation? We see today anyway that there's a lot of connections between Hasidim and Litvaks in many areas, Torah and different things, but this is happening at a mathematical level. Why? Because in the year 1781, July 9th, 1781, that year was the year that the second excommunication came out. That year, July 5th. July 5th, I'm sorry. 9th of Tammuz was July 5th of 1781. That's the whole point. Sorry. July 5th, 1781, 9 Tammuz 5541 was the second excommunication. This is all verifiable. You can look this up. This is the excommunication. Anyone who possesses their books or who has one of them in his house shall be under excommunication and banishment. This ban called for the destruction of Hasidic books and even harsher social exclusion for those associated with the movement. Now think about this. I go to someone's house today and someone mentions a person who is 139 who is associated with the anti-Hasidic, which is really a greater antithesis. And 139 is mentioned by 52. Okay? On this day, when the 5th of July matches the 9th of Tammuz. Now, what is the 5th of July? Remember, all the seasons are paralleled. All the cardinal, so that the 5th of July is January 5th, is Teves 5, is Tammuz 5, because I forgot to say that this is called the Mercury calendar, because it's based on, there's 4 of these years in one Earth year, because Mercury revolves around the sun about 88 days, which is about 90 days, which is about a quarter of a year. So that means that 4 years of a Mercury year is 1 Earth year. That means that all the seasons are one composite season, because they're so if it's happened on the 5th of Teves, which is the cardinal, it's the same thing like it happened on the 5th of July. But what is the 5th of Teves? 5th of Teves was the day that the Lubavitch community won the court case in 1986 or something like that to get their books back. So the ban on the books that was made on July 5th happened on the same day as the time that the Hasidim are getting their books back. That's just an example to show you how history is ironic, but there's a almost like a joke, a poetic justice, or a sort of a balance of opposites, the interplay of opposites that are happening, and that is held by the sun and the moon in this calendar. So on this calendar, the 9th of Tammuz is on the box number 26, but 26 is actually 36. Why is it 36? Because in this calendar counting system, when you get to the 26th day of the month, you're going to be in box number 36. So if I'm on box 26 today, that's really a 36. But what's so special about 36? Because I was in a shul today that I counted how many slats of windows there are. there were 18 slats. I just counted it today. I've been to the shul many, many times, but today I decided to count it. But 18 times 2 is 36. And do you see this 18 here? This box number 18 is right next to the 26. And the rule in this calendar is that each box can be combined in the cuboid. It's called the cuboid, which is a 3D rectangle. So a box is a 3D square, and a cuboid is a 3D rectangle. And so we're in the same 3D. So that's subjective to me. But are there many other people that experienced something about 18 today that was in association with 26? So those are a couple of examples of the PL-89 calendar for today.